future of residential lighting, craft sustainability and personality, looking at how residential lighting is moving beyond pure function and something towards that is more emotional, atmospheric and integrated into the identity of the home. I'm joined here today with my lovely panellists. I've got Josh Welch from Hoare. Sorry, Rona, I just looked at you then and I was like, Rona, Meyuchas Koblenz, industrial designer, and Manuela Hamilford, founder of Manuela Design and interior designer. So, let's start off by talking about from function to feeling, and I'm just going to ask you both this question, and each of you give me a minute or 30 seconds on this answer each. So, what does it actually mean to design for feeling rather than just visibility? I'm going to start with you, Josh, because you're looking at me.
To design for feeling over function, I think you're touching on people's innate, feelings as they go into the space. So in the general public, I used the example of a general public, they think, oh, that's a really nice space to be in, or they go back to it. It's the idea of retention. So if it's just function, it's just you're lighting a space to see. If you're doing for feeling, you're assuming there's layers in the space, different, it's not just a grid of downlights or what have you. So, yeah.
Yeah, making sure it's not forgettable, I guess.
I guess so, yeah. Forgettable, yes, it would then be bad.
How about you, Rona?
Well, I don't see any difference between the two, to be honest, because design for feeling or functionality, they have to work together. I feel that once someone enters a space and not noticing the lighting, it means it functions well, but also emotionally because it's designed well. So that's how I feel.
How about you?
No, I agree. I think back in the day, the lighting plans were mainly for functional spaces. So, for example, the kitchen. Can you hear me? So, for the kitchen, you would have downlights that were strictly functional. They were just there to serve a purpose. You weren't supposed to see them. They were just up in the ceiling, or you have a desk or study area. You'd have lighting that was strictly functional. I think now things have changed, and there is an emotional attachment or an emotional feeling that now your home needs to sort of exude to yourself, to guests that come in. So I think lighting has changed and it's become softer, there's just so many more options now and the mood that it creates. And people spend more time at home now, so it's really important that the lighting is not just functional, but it's also beautiful at the same time. So I think what you were saying is true. I think you have to have both to have a successful project.
Mm-hmm. So let's say we agree that there is a shift towards feeling led. Where does that shift come from? Is it technology, lifestyle change, like you touched on people staying at home more?
I think it's a lifestyle change. I think, post-COVID, I think people now entertain more at home, they spend more time at home, they don't go to the theater or the cinema so much. We've got, box sets on TV. So now the media room and the TV lounge has become like a proper cinema room, as opposed to just your TV room for kids to watch TV. So I think the house has just changed to much more, has to be more inspiring because you just spend much more time there. Particularly now when people work from home now, so the studies are really important. You have to be inspired, you have to have plants, it has to feel more homey. The living room now is usually part of the dining room. The formal dining is not a thing anymore. So people, they entertain at home, they want to cook and be able to speak to people while they're sitting in the lounge or in the dining area. So this open plan idea is really, shifted, that people want to spend more time together as a community. So I think it's a lifestyle change, and I think it really happened, sort of post-COVID when we were all stuck in our homes.
Do you guys have anything to add?
Sorry, can I just add? I think that we live now, post-COVID, in a neo-Baroque era where we are more sensible. There's a sensible richness, and a lot of we feel the drama if we're surrounded by materials that we can feel, and their texture, obviously the light, influence all of that, and so it's part of how we feel in any environment.
Just to add as well, not to be a contrarian, but I think in terms of that function of a feeling, I think we are, as far as, again, speaking about the general public, I think the majority of people are still in that function process of, you know, I grew up in a small town in Wales, and you go around your friend's house and you see it walking down the street. You have like a little pendant in the middle of the room. There's no shade, it's just a bulb. It might be warm, it might be cool, you never know. So I think most people do just use light to see, and they'll go down to Screwfix or B&Q or IKEA, whatever you think. They'll see, okay, there's a bulb there, it's warm white, cool, it's £4. Yeah, that's their sort of logic with lighting. So in my mind, it's improving day by day with, like you say, more options are on the table, but I feel like there's still much more room to sort of push and get people thinking more so.
This conversation's still like ahead of mainstream reality then.
Exactly, yeah. I think like 80% of people are still struggling with that, still in the function as far as like...
Unless you hire an interior designer. Then everything changes.
So that raises the question of, well, not what you said, but how is it the lighting that is creating that feeling, or is it more that it's the materials that the lighting is highlighted, or you're making a lighting out of like alabaster, brass? Are we seeing a return of like craftsmanship and materials? Is that the sort of what is creating the feeling, would you say?
Yeah, I think that's a very big part of it. I think lighting, well, you can probably answer this as well, but I think a lot of the lighting materials have changed. I mean, now we do have these alabaster lights that are absolutely stunning, bronze lights, things out of vellum, paper. I mean, the material options are endless, and you can really create such a beautiful environment with such beautiful lighting. You know, and it could be just one pendant, but now it really does serve more than a functional purpose. It's got to be beautiful, and I think that has changed a lot. I think the options, I mean, we see here at the show, I mean, it's just incredible what you can do with lighting now. And especially if you have artwork, you know, you can emphasize your lighting, your artwork with lighting, so that also has a punch in the room. I think there's just ways, LED lights, strips underneath plinths, in wardrobes. You know, you walk into a master bedroom wardrobe and the lights just come on, like PIRs. We use those quite often in design. So there's just so many options with lighting.
What sort of feelings are people wanting to, what are they requesting? What is it they want to feel from these materials and this kind of lighting?
I think it's just luxury.
Yeah.
I think they want to feel, it's understated luxury. So the lights, you don't want to see lights. You don't want them in your face. You know, you want them subtle, you want them hidden away, dimmers, diffusers, controlled lighting, the same temperature across the room. And you don't, it's not like you walk in a room and go, oh, I love the temperature of this room. You just love the room. You know, you just want to sit down and curl up on a sofa, have a glass of wine, and you just want to stay there. And in hospitality has really changed, because now hospitality, we do some restaurants and bars and things like that. And the design request is to make the restaurant look like a home. So that you go in there and you want to have a glass of wine, you want to socialize with your friends. It's not the big, glamorous, like shiny restaurant bar. Everything's got curved silhouettes, soft lighting, lamps everywhere. I don't know if you've noticed, you go to a bar, there's lamps on the tables. It's fantastic. So I think it's come a long way.
Sorry, just... I think it became also more accessible to everyone. People who want this luxury, but I think from the beginning of 2000, or earlier actually, with the Chinese manufacturing and in India and IKEA and even in B&Q, you can buy really beautiful, sorry, it's not good for my, exactly, really beautiful lights, and you can make your environment the way you imagine it. And technology also allows that. The LEDs, the very fine strip, and so it is accessible to everyone to feel this sort of luxury, even if it's not, even material-wise, if you go outside, you'll see an amount of materials that look maybe like alabaster, and it's not alabaster, and the technology allows that as well.
Would you agree that it's accessible to everyone, from what you were saying earlier?
I think, yes, it's accessible in the sense that you can go out and buy it, I think there's fairly limited options again for the general public and visibility from like brand marketing. I don't think lighting brand, I don't know 100% for sure, but it feels like I'm not getting lighting ads on my social media, for example. You know, you don't, it's not commonplace where you, like, who sells linear LED? If you ask like the general public, you wouldn't know. You go to IKEA or something, right? Like, that's your go-to. So yes, it's successful. It can be cost effective. I think people get a bit nervous around it, that, you know, it's going to cost a lot. I'm going to need an electrician. I'm going to need all these things that, again, I'm sort of coming at it from the general public, that could be an expensive process. And if, you know, it's a luxury to do so.
So do you think that people, there's like a cultural perception that good lighting is just for luxury then? Do you think it is available for, how do you educate people? How are they meant to know? Because like you said, you're not getting ads on it, and the people here today were all like designers, they obviously have some background on it. So isn't there an argument then that good lighting has become culturally and financially exclusive?
I think knowledge is luxury, and knowledge is something exclusive. Not everyone has it. So you do need interior designer or even, you know, better lighting designer to design your space. It is a luxury in itself, this knowledge, and it is a matter of education and awareness. Unfortunately, yes, most people don't have the access to this, and are not aware of the importance of lighting.
I think you can find lighting objects out there. I think there's a lot more options there. We know it's a plethora of options of alabaster lights and bronze lights and everything you can imagine. So I think in lampshades as well, and I can do bespoke lampshades just off the high street, you know, mainstream. So I think that's gone a little bit mainstream, but I do agree that smart lighting, which is all the motorized, automated, that's a whole different game. So there you do have to get a designer in. I think you do have to get a lighting specialist in, you know, a John Cullen sort of thing, and make it help you. But that's a more higher end budget. So I think that hasn't gotten mainstream. I'm not sure it will, because there's a lot of electrical involved, and it's quite a big process.
Okay, so we've talked a bit about materials, atmosphere, accessibility. How about lighting as part of the home identity itself? Do you feel like you can translate personality through lighting that you can, to say, with furniture?
I think people do it through colour, so like they'll have, I don't know, like in my home I like earthy tones, so I like a brown lamp, for example, or they'll do it through texture and things like that. I think, again, we could probably take it a bit further, so if you're really into reading, for example, you could have your, like a feature bookshelf, you know, and it's lit really beautifully, and you have like a reading nook next to it that's got a little lamp, and that's like, could be the centerpiece of your home. You know, there's, as you're saying, like the decorative standalone stuff is very accessible, because you can go to H&M Home or whatever and pick up a lamp for 20 quid. But all the integrated stuff is where you need a professional, and that is then sort of a luxury, because there's a price tag on a designer, right?
I forgot the question, sorry.
If can you express personality simply through lighting like you can with furniture and other pieces?
Definitely, I think materials the first thing that light is expressed from is through the materials, and I think also the environment we live in, if it's day or light, whether we are day or night. At night, obviously, we want something more dimmed, as if we want to read something or relax. And so also the furniture where we sit or are different than our daily office or environment. So yes, I think it's important to...
From your experience, Manuela, do you think clients are confident in expressing themselves through light?
I wouldn't say specifically, they don't come to our studio and say we want good light or we want light to do X. but when you get the remit of what they want the house and what the purpose of the house is, or each room, for example, if they're a family that sort of entertains a lot, then you really have to think about the lighting in the entertainment space. So you want it to be able to mood once the food is served, and you have like a TV lounge area where they're going to have drinks, a lot of lamp lighting. So that kind of comes with the expertise of the specialist who's working with the client to get their message across of the sort of mood and experience they're trying to have in their home.
Can you not imagine people curating bits of light, like in their home, the way they curate art, perhaps?
No, I think they use light to emphasize art.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that could be something very personal. They have particular artwork that they want to shine up in the hallways, or if they've won some awards and they want to light up, a gallery wall, then I think that's where the lighting comes in. But I think it's the other way around. I think you do the interiors and then you layer the lighting on top.
You wouldn't start with the lighting. It's more of an after layer. Okay, that's an
It's not like
interesting
an afterthought, but it comes after, because you've got to design joinery in order to put the LEDs into the joinery. You design the bar to put LEDs in the plinth and that sort of thing. So you kind of have to do the interiors first, and then you move on to lighting.
What's your guys' opinion on making lighting an integral part of the home then?
Well, I think it's of course, the lighting is just something that has to come after the interior is made, and once the lines and the wireframes and everything is quite set. There's another stage in lighting, which is the focusing, which is extremely important, and you see it a lot in restaurants and hospitality, where it's important where the tables are, and you always want to create the effect of the fire effect, that it's cozy. Yeah, so it's cozy, people will sit around and will. But the lighting is, I always feel lighting is like makeup, that you have to be very delicate and sensible and respect the environment, and so it comes just like as the last touch.
So if lighting is becoming more considered and material-led and system-driven, it also raises the question about longevity, responsibility, which then brings us to sustainability. Does more considered and crafted lighting naturally lead to more sustainable design?
What is the question again?
Does more crafted lighting naturally lead to more better sustainable design?
It's a complex question. Sustainable design is really, I don't believe in, it's a big subject, right? Really big subject. Everything we creates something else. So I think, well, not necessarily. Not necessarily.
The clients think about lifespan, because often crafted...
Not my clients.
No. But you think crafted pieces, you want something handmade, they don't care.
It's got to look, if it looks good.
Budget-wise.
Yeah, budget-wise, and if it looks good, you start going handcrafted, there's a budget, conversation to be had at that stage. But I think if it looks good, it reads well in the room, I think that's the primary focus of a client choice.
But it's a responsibility of the designer to understand about the impact, and I personally sometimes use reclaimed materials in my designs. If it's accessible and if it's something that is helpful, or but sometimes I don't.
So that's just you as a designer's choice. It doesn't feel like the market is really desiring it. You're just doing it because it matters to you.
It matters to me to the functionality level of it. Of course, I will not use a reclaimed material if I have to travel far and get it just because it's reclaimed. So. But I don't see it coming from the industry or, the clients, definitely not. Yeah.
But also if you're saying sort of, you want something that's longevity driven, then you've got the issue of, say you've got alabaster lights. So you've got alabaster, which is one price point, but then to make it cheaper, they'll use plastic. So, resin type, which, of course, that could technically lasts longer, it's unbreakable, that sort of thing, but it's plastic. So where do you draw the line? So I think it's a very tricky, particularly lighting has got so many facets to it. Yeah. So
And lighting, I think it's about 19% of pollution that it produces. And they did try, and they do try still with OLEDs, and they did a project with OLEDs for a research of biotechnology company. But it's still very much in its, I mean, there's still limitations in that field.
Just to add, I think when you're talking about at a product level sustainability, I think it's like a nice to have. Generally, that people view it that way. In some of the projects we work with on a much bigger scale, you find it depends on the client. Some are geared towards sustainability, some aren't. But regardless, we're trying to include as much sustainability information we can in our sort of documentation, so it stops any items getting like VE'd, so like any sort of TM data or EPDs or that sort of stuff. So we're putting in a data point to measure it and then compare it to later down the line, if a contractor has, I've got this downlight that does exactly the same thing as yours, but there's only like lumen output and colour temperature, then you can't really do much about it. But if you've got all these additional details that you can include, then it defends your spec much better when you're sort of rolling that out across like an apartment block or what have you.
Okay, so I'm just conscious of time because we've almost got to our 30 minutes. So let's just talk about some future-facing questions and then we'll open it to our audience. So, as systems and behaviours are already changing, a final question about where lighting is actually heading next. What will people expect from lighting in their homes that they don't expect today?
I think a more, sorry for the buzz, but like a more AI integrated home, I think it will just kind of inevitably lead that way, where you'll walk into your living room and it'll know you've had a bad day, so it makes like a nice effect. Do you know what I mean? Like it'll be that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think it'll, and it's
Like her?
Yeah. Yeah, I think things like that, or like cinema mode, you won't have to do it, or it'll know you've turned the cinema screen on, so then it all is all linked sort of thing. So like is it information of things where just everything's talking to one another? So I think it's heading that way. The pessimist in me thinks that it may just it'll take a while to get there, because I think people will adopt technology at a very slow rate, and it needs people to sort of be the voice and like that lighting influencers, I'd like to call it, or like more people shouting about lighting and teaching people about lighting to get there. And I think as an industry we could do more and talk about lighting more not in lighting events, but more outward to the sort of public and make people know why it's important.
Okay. How would you go about that if you want to reach to the wider public? So is that beyond people in the luxury sector? You want this? What sort of actionable steps do you want to make to do that?
I think we're in a world of social media, so it's in my mind the only way of doing it. Just being present on social media and doing it that way. There are some lighting designers on there already that have got quite big followings. If you type in lighting, you'll get people with very nice living rooms that have like Noguchi lamps everywhere, and they're teaching people about lighting, but they're just people who've bought nice lamps. So it's like, there's a gap there. There's opportunity. It's not all doom and gloom. There's opportunity to be like a presence and like teach people. It's an exciting time that I think there's a gap, and I think we could fill it very easily.
The AI automated systems sound interesting. Not against it, but not sure about it. But that makes me, what's the potential risks and downsides? Could that make environments more sterile, or what's your thoughts? Have you heard of these AI systems? Because you were nodding along.
No, I haven't. No, I agree with the AI, but I think it's
changing so quickly that I'm not sure if it's going to catch up quick enough.
Okay.
What I'd like to see in the future is that smart lighting is become more affordable, because I would love to put it in home. The difference in, let's say, a curtain rod that you buy, locally, could be, let's say, £300. But if you do a motorized curtain rod, you're looking at sort of $6,000 when it's all said and done, and that's without the fabric. So it's just the gap is so big. So I would love to see those prices go down and it become a bit more mainstream. It's still a luxury, but not that huge gap between price points. I think there's something really nice about, and then again, you said creating the mood. You know, with smart lighting, you can do that. You know, you can have a whole panel there that your curtains go on, you know, your curtains open up, your lights dim down, and all of that should be accessible, I think, to the public.
Do you have anything to add about the risks of automated AI system?
I'm very pro AI, so I don't see it. So in my mind, there's not a lot of risk. Give me a brain chip, I'm there. Risk. I think you. Well, no, because I don't think you'll feel you won't notice the lighting. It'll just be perfect at every point in the day. You won't have to touch anything. There's no flicking the switch, no dimmers. So in my mind, there's maybe data risks, like a bigger picture.
Technology risk.
Yeah, like
the new brand out.
Yeah, financial risk. I'm sure that'll be very expensive. But yeah, from a like data.
And I think you do see that in healthcare, these experiments and understanding why lighting is so important and on how we all feel and our mood. But it's enough even to stay, if we would stay here in this dark environment half day or go out to the sun, I mean, we will feel that we all understand the impact of the lighting. And I think the AI, once you can control it, and it is an advantage, although I'm really scared and not really pro AI yet. But I think we can use it as a tool to make it more human accessible. I don't know. I mean, and more personal. I don't know. I mean, maybe it is the solution.
I guess that will raise the question is the debate of, will AI help make our homes more personal, or will the AI more choose what our personality is? Do you know what I mean? Like, let's make the room look really nice. You're happy now. You are. You're happy. It's nice to be a brave new world. Anyway, it is running out of time now. So, do we have any questions from our audience? Don't be scared. Someone break the ice.
I've got a question.
Okay.
It's a question for the audience, actually.
I was just thinking about your point, Josh, when you said about being at lighting events and trying to educate. I just wondered what the mix of people in the audience were, so how many lighting designers we've got in the audience, if you could raise your hands. Okay, not that many actually. Interior designers? Architects? Anyone here just here for a good time? Okay. Shout out. What other professions have we got in the room? If you do, manufacturers. Yeah. Okay. So we've got a retailer. Okay. No, I was just intrigued because it's like obviously that's what we're talking about with the education side and stuff. So, any of you got any questions based on that, or want to make any comments? No? Oh, yeah, one at the back. Thank God. I would have just cancelled.
Can you hear me? Yeah, I work for a lighting designer, just tell you that first. So, would you say, I personally have just had a project done at home where I feel like the lighting has made, and that's nothing to do with my company, has absolutely integral to the success of the project. We did have a lighting designer come and have a look at it, and I absolutely believe that our 3 rooms that we had done would not be in any way the same rooms without the lighting. And funnily enough, the lighting designer wanted to come right at the beginning and be there before we put everything in, and I think what he's done has transformed the space beyond anything we could ever have imagined. We've got a very ordinary kitchen. We didn't spend a huge amount on the design. It's a sort of off-the-shelf kitchen. And actually, I think what you spend on a lighting designer like a few thousand is nothing compared to what people will spend on a 40 grand kitchen or a 50 grand kitchen. And yet I feel like lighting can absolutely transform a space more than if you go and spend money on a 40 or 50 grand kitchen. And I wondered what you thought about that.
I agree. I believe that we are not rich enough to buy cheap, generally. So, I mean, it means that I do agree that if you have an off-shelf kitchen and with the right lighting, you can make it like amazing.
Yeah.
Because, as I said, it's just like makeup. You can do everything with lighting. You can have really, and you are aware when there is a bad lighting. Everyone's aware of bad lighting. Somehow, when people are in an environment with good lighting, they kind of just calm and linger into the environment, and their feelings just, and that's where the functionality comes in. So I do agree. Lighting design is so essential.
It's funny you say that, because I was on the train here and I thought of the exact example of like, people spend like 20 grand on kitchens but they can't afford a lighting designer. What's going wrong? I was like, I should say that, and you were trying. Yes, like it. Of course, being a designer, I'll say, please employ the designer, of course. Yeah. But I do think there is a disparity between, again, people's attention when they're doing up their home, renovating, that they weight it incredibly heavily to furniture and finishes and what have you. Like, kitchens aren't cheap, and you could take a bit of that and put it to good lighting. But again, it's like they don't know any better. Like, they don't know lighting design exists. They don't know it all.
Can I just say that I had a friend help me, and I had never done a renovation before. Bizarrely, I work in lighting, but I rented all my life. And we got the cheapest sort of Haldon's kitchen and everything, and she was the one who persuaded me to spend some money on a lighting designer. When she told me you should spend a bit of money on someone doing your lighting, I was like, what? What do you mean? I just can put some lights up, what are you talking about? And she persuaded me, and as I say, it absolutely transformed the space. So it's a lot of education, as you say, and a lot of persuading, and why on earth you should spend the money on a lighting designer and be like, what, I don't, I'm not in that field, that's not where I'm from. But honestly, it's completely transformed it. So I don't know how we can ever get that across to people.
I think the problem is that people just don't have the budgets. So a lighting designer, I think people panic because they don't want to pay this extra fee for a lighting designer. You've got an interior designer, so you spend the money on the kitchen and then the lighting gets layered on top. I do agree the lighting is critical, but I think the lighting should be, particularly in a kitchen, should be subtle. You shouldn't be saying, oh, this is great lighting. No, you should say this is a beautiful kitchen.
Yeah.
So that's the harmony that you got to create. And if it is spending money on a lighting designer, then if you have the budget, that's great. Highly recommend it. But I think having a nice kitchen is important too.
The next question.
Any other questions? Oh, we've got one.
Just a quick one. So, who defines then the narrative of a space? Having considered, I'm going to use the example of your kitchen, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Is it the interior design or is it the lighting design that defines that narrative in your views?
Well, no, I think it's the client to begin with. I think the client, you get the concepts and the vision of what the client prefers, then you take that and create this kitchen that hopefully is what they're imagining. And then once you get that kitchen designed up and signed off, then you layering your lighting on top. So, and that, it's all budget. I mean, you could spend loads of money on a fabulous pendant points over the kitchen island, or you could just use LEDs, to accent the plinths or the work surfaces. So I think budget is a big, big part, particularly in a kitchen, because a kitchen can go from 20 grand to 200 grand. So I think that's the key. So I think it's client first and foremost.
Okay, thank you.
No, I do think there is merit in what you said in terms of the interior design is first, and then your lighting, whatever you've been designed. So I think they are sort of there's a symbiotic relationship between the two. It's hard to light something if you don't know what's in the room. So yeah, there is a bit of you're always chasing a little bit behind the interior design, I think, as a lighting designer.
Do you have any more questions? No? We'll call it there then. So thank you for joining me today.
Thank
you
you.
for coming in.